Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 42, presented by the Las Vegas Advisor. If it happens in Las Vegas, it happens at the Las Vegas Advisor. Visit www.lasvegasadvisor.com for anything and everything Las Vegas. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Joe Payne. And Joe, since we last spoke, the Golden Knights have ascended to leading the NHL with an 11-2 record, a 7-game winning streak, 3 in a row on the road. We already covered the sky not falling a couple episodes ago, but is everything as good as it seems, do you think?
You know, it's a great question. And I know everybody's on the bandwagon here. They've gotten 22 points out of a possible 26. They're 6-1 on the road and 5-1 at home. T-Mobile is now the place that teams fear coming into. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, keep in mind that the 2 losses that Vegas Golden Knights have suffered so far this year have been the 2 teams that most likely they will have to get past to get to the ultimate goal, which is to win the Stanley Cup or at least play for the Stanley Cup. To get out of the Western Conference, you're probably going to have to beat either Colorado or Calgary, and those are only 2 losses. So before we start, waving the pom poms and planning the parade route down Las Vegas Boulevard, which I hope will be a lot longer than what the Aces got.
Not going there.
You're not going to go there?
Not going there.
Why did they even have that little thing for the Aces? It was like ridiculous, but I'm sure
not going there.
Okay, but my point is here that they're off to a great start, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. They have beaten the teams they should have beaten. Yeah, they beat Toronto and Washington. Toronto has gotten off to a rocky start in Washington, got a slew of injuries, and I know we really shouldn't be talking about injuries because we know firsthand here what injuries could do to a team. So they might have caught Washington shorthanded, so to speak, and they caught Toronto in a little bit of a funk, which seemed to maybe have rightened their ship a little bit. So we'll see. They got a game coming up against Buffalo, which is one of the only 3 other teams in the league have scored more goals than Vegas. Vegas is at 46 goals, and scoring has been a problem for Vegas over at least last year anyway. They've gotten 46 goals, and Buffalo has got 49, and LA Kings have even got 49 goals, and Boston's got 51 goals. So only 3 teams in the league have scored more goals than the Vegas Golden Knights. So they're firing on all cylinders, but let's not get the car into the race, into the starting gate yet. There's still work to be done. So do you feel like this is the best Vegas Golden Knight team that's been assembled for the first 6 years?
Well, I got to tell you, you and I have been, well, not you and I, mostly I have been hypercritical of the fan base and the finickiness and their outlandish comments and behaviors and things like that. And I think that you have to really be honest here. And I think if you're really honest, 2 things. The first season was a humongous anomaly. You can't say anything but that. It was absolutely the perfect storm with the perfect bodies in the perfect positions, coached by the perfect guy, with the world events and everything else is what perpetuated the most incredible, inaugural season of any team in any sport now, then, or most likely forever.
It's been the best sports story probably in the last 20 years.
But the question that you asked me is this the best Golden Knights team constituted in the 6 seasons? And I'm going to say that it is. And I know that there's going to be a ton of blowback. Oh my God, we got nothing for Fleury and we got nothing for Pacioretty, and we dumped all these people and we're just renegades and we're going to just continuing tinkering. But folks, let me tell you what they got for Jack Eichel. They got Jack Eichel. Okay. They gave up Max Pacioretty in a salary dump. There was going to be a salary dump at some point anyways. if it wasn't for last season's 500 plus man games lost to injury, there would have been a salary dump last year when Eichel got healthy. So the Fleury thing was a terrible pill. It was not nice. It was potentially not handled the best possible way. But you know what? If you look at the team that the Golden Knights put on the ice right now, in previous years, the big complaint was they were light down the middle. They have a bona fide superstar in Jack Eichel. I'm not going to entertain anybody's opinion that says otherwise. If you haven't watched the 13 games and the games that he played last year, not counting the games that he played with a broken thumb, okay, Jack Eichel is a bona fide superstar. He will put up, barring injury, between 90 and 100 points this year. Anybody that wants to make a bet, just leave a note in the comment. I'm taking your action. They are now deeper down the center than most teams. They have Phil Kessel, a two-time Stanley Cup champion and the Iron Man of the NHL, playing the wing on the third line, and there isn't really a lot of room for him to move up right now. And the head coach of Ottawa, and his name escapes me.
He made a great point about
he made the fantastic. He made the comment before the Ottawa game that Zach Whitecloud and Nick Hague might be the best. Not might be. Are the best 5-6 defensemen in the NHL. And if you put them together with Theodore and McNabb and Pietrangelo and Alec Martinez, it's hard to say that the Golden Knights don't have the best D-core 1 to 6 in the NHL. Colorado has a lot of talent on the D line. Cal McCarr, Bo Byram, Taves, okay? But I would put the Golden Knights D6, 60 rather, against any team in the NHL, hands down.
I agree.
And I think that for all the shit that Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee caught, for all of these moves that seem savage-like, right? No heart. How could you do that? You're tearing the soul of the team out. Let me tell you something. They waited 8 days and they got Bruce Cassidy. They took the risk to get Jack Eichel. They spent on Alex Pietrangelo. Okay, yes, we lost some fan favorites there. But folks, don't get it twisted. This team has the potential to be a monster, an absolute monster, night in and night out. So the answer to your question after a minute and a half worth of an answer is, of the 6 seasons, I'm going to say yes. I think that this is the best Vegas Golden Knights roster up and down that they've had in the 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, the top 2 lines are just, and as far as I'm concerned, can probably play anywhere in the NHL when any other team's top 2 lines. Even when you consider, the big line in Edmonton, the big line in Toronto, and so forth. This is a really, really deep team, and when you start to look at, especially over the last couple of games, how the I don't even want to call them the fourth line, but they are the fourth line. The bottom 3 forwards on this team are playing incredible right now. Carey is on a scoring streak. Even Kolosar and War, who's a legitimate third line center,
if not more,
and has played up on top between Stone and Eichel. I look at this team and say, who can beat them? And then I could revert back to my original thought about, well, maybe Colorado and Calgary, but Calgary stumbled the last couple of games, and this team is going to go far, I believe. This team's got the potential, and as you said so perfectly, they are the deepest they've ever been. And all these naysayers who are yelling about McCrimmon and McPhee, they have the finger on the button right now. This team is ready.
They're stacked.
They're stacked.
They're stacked. Anything to nitpick about? I have one thing that bothers me a little bit. In the last couple of games, they jumped out.
You can't really find too much fault in the last couple of games.
But not a lot of fault, but
right.
and probably not a concern. But it's disturbing to watch them gain go out to big leads
and
and then
yeah,
just
and
sort of
sweat.
completely decelerate and seem to lose focus and interest. And I understand that it's hard to stay focused. I get all that. But those games, the Ottawa game and the
And the
Montreal
Montreal game.
game, they should have stayed as snoozers instead of having to watch them in the third period.
And
Now,
that's an excellent point, because those are probably, of all the teams they've played so far, those may be the two weakest teams, if unless you want to include San Jose in that mix there in Anaheim. But and they had decisive leads on them and let them back in. And what really hurt was, when we gave up Pacioretty, I should say, when we acquired Pacioretty, one of the bodies moving over to the other side was Nick Suzuki, who, I don't know how he became captain of the Montreal Canadiens, but he scored 2 goals last night and came close to having a hat trick. How devastating would that have been if Suzuki put the sword in the back of Cassidy after they had was it a 5-1 lead, I believe they had at one point?
well, I think that you have to give up something to get something. Okay. And we went over this a million years ago. And Nick Suzuki is a good hockey player, right? Again, I agree with you 100%. Don't quite know how he got to C, but you can't teach size. And he's always going to be an undersized NHL player. And that's nothing against Marty St. Louis, who was an undersized Hall of Famer. Okay. But Suzuki isn't quite there yet. I mean, he's going to be a solid NHL player. We'll see how he handles the pressure of being the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, something that Max Pacioretty spoke very eloquently about when he first came to Vegas. But Nick Suzuki, I mean, I get it. I understand why people would think that, oh, they got the better of the trade and this, that, and the other thing. I think the only really terrible trade that the Golden Knights have made was the one for Tomas Tatar, giving up the first, second, and third that folded into Pacioretty, which folded into Suzuki, and I think that tree, or that branch of the Golden Knights tree, rather, I think is probably the one. If we ever got a chance to ask George and Kelly, is there a deal they regret? I think that would be the one that they would go, and all of the ramifications of it. But aside from them just sort of decelerating and letting two not great teams,
mediocre teams,
and Ottawa's a greatly improved team from what they were last year, and the Montreal, they suck. There's, they're a long way from where they were when they accidentally beat the Golden Knights to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. They're in bad shape. And these games shouldn't. After the Golden Knights stomped on them, they took their foot off their neck and they let them back in. And the thing about that, and this might be like ultra nuanced, nerdy hockey things, injuries happen when the focus goes away. When they take the foot off the gas and they don't go in and they don't finish their checks and they don't do the things that they did to get out to a 5-1 lead and other big leads, that's kind of when injuries happen. Extra shots need to be blocked. There's all sorts of negative ramifications, but that's a humongous nitpick. I mean, that's one hockey nerd going deep into the well of hockey nerddom to talk about, what's not perfect about an 11-2 start.
Yeah, and just to go back 10 seconds to Nick Suzuki, when I first heard that he was the captain, I scratched my head and said, he doesn't have the credentials to be the captain. He hasn't been around long enough to be the captain. He hasn't proven anything. But then I was watching the game yesterday and I realized, you know what? I know why he became the captain. It was all because of Marty St. Louis, with the understanding that, we're about the same size, and look what happened to me. I want to reward this kid and really give him the shot to kind of not follow in his footsteps, but be the kind of player, that he was. Marty St. Louis was a great player,
fantastic
leader, and a fantastic player. And I think that probably played into the equation of, hey, who are we going to make captain here? And I'm sure Marty St. Louis said, you know what? I'm going to help. I'm going to be the spark plug. I'm going to be the catalyst behind this kid's career. I'm going to make him the captain. What's the worst that can happen?
He very well could make his career
Oh,
by doing this.
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. I think he has already. I mean, the kid's playing well. The kid's got what, 7 goals already.
right.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
playing
No,
really
he's
well.
playing very well.
Yeah.
To get back to the Golden Knights, we have impending doom coming. Laurent Brossoit is on a 3-game conditioning stint with the Henderson Golden Knights, probably ended today, in fact. It looks like the Golden Knights have 3 options once his conditioning stint ends. Option 1 is you put on waivers Paul Cotter or Jake Lecision and hope they get through. Option 2 is you send Logan Thompson down to the Henderson Silver Knights because he's waiver exempt. And option 3 is you basically make a trade or some sort of a salary cap dump and carry 3 goalies for a minute. Oh, and then there's option 4, trade one of the goalies. So now that impending doom is upon us and we have 4 fairly shitty options, what do you think the wheeling, dealing
I think
president and general manager are going to do with this?
I think the first option that looks the most appealing is to move one of the goaltenders and not put Carter or Lecision on waivers, because as we know and as we have witnessed last year, injuries are going to happen. You need some viable forwards to step in and not have to play shorthanded because of salary cap situation. Now the question is, which goaltender do they move? They're not moving Logan Thompson.
No.
That's without a doubt. The question is,
I just had to say it was an option because
it was an option
because he's waiver exempt.
Right. Is LB the one that gets traded?
LB has the bigger salary cap.
Exactly.
LB has the most experience.
Exactly.
Adin Hill is 5-0 with a 2-ish goals against and a save percentage in the 930s.
Is he 5-0 or 6-0?
I think 5.
Okay. I know he's 5. Undefeated.
He's undefeated. So he's undefeated. He's got to say, I don't think I should take that back. I don't think he's in the 930s anymore. He had a little bit of a rough start. But it's well in the 19s.
Oh yeah,
and he's undefeated. So
playing well playing well
within the system,
exactly,
right? Which is what we want, key. Right? Which is what we wanted, right? All along is we want the goalies to make the big saves. We'll suppress the shots. So is Adin Hill's trade value the highest it's going to be, or do they look to move Laurent Brossoit and open themselves up the most salary cap space?
In my opinion, and I'm not one of the guys who goes after all the shining objects, obviously, I think you moved Brossoit for 2 reasons. One is that he's got the biggest salary, and that gives them a little bit more relief and a little bit more wiggle room come trade deadline. Because if they are in the position where they are going to make a strong push for the cup, they might want to bring a piece in. And trade deadline will be in February this year because the season started on time. So they may want to bring a piece in. So the more salary relief that they have, the bigger kind of piece they could bring in, possibly. So I think on that situation, this Laurent Brossoit probably, if one of them gets moved, and I think one of them has to get moved, and it's not going to be LT. It's either going to be LB. I think it's going to be LB because of the salary cap. It gives them a little bit more wiggle room, and we've seen him play. He's solid, but who's playing better right now? The beginning of the season, the biggest question about this team was the goaltending.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, that's no longer a question. Now, are they playing well, or is it a combination of they're playing good and Cassidy's system is making them look even stronger than they are?
B.
I'm under B, exactly. I'm under the opinion that Logan Thompson and they're both playing well, but they're playing well because they're getting help in front. The defensemen are moving the puck out of the way, taking it out of the blue zone. They're getting the puck out of the end much quicker. So they're not facing a lot of quality, high scoring chance throughout the game. So it's a combination of both. But like you said, it's Cassidy's system that is making both goaltenders right now look really good.
Okay, but let me ask you this question. LB is fresh off of hip surgery, right? The return is, are you just looking for a straight out salary dump, or do you just think it's a fourth? I mean, they're not going to certainly they're not going to retain any salary.
No, and they can't take, they really can't take a body right now either.
Right.
What they need is a draft pick.
Okay. But don't you think that they would get right now a better draft pick moving Adin Hill than for a to be determined how healthy he really is, out 8 months for hip surgery? It's a
valid question, but when you look back on Aiden's previous outings, and again, he played for Arizona and San Jose, so he didn't have a lot of help in front of him.
Right.
Okay. Now we're seeing if you play in a good system that he's a viable backup goaltender, and that's exactly what he is right now. Logan Thompson is the number one goaltender, and Cassidy's even said he's not sure how well or how long he's going to play LT for. Like it was like 2 games on, 1 game off, but he's not going to wear Logan Thompson out because Logan Thompson is going to be the goaltender for this team at least until next year. And that's another question that we can just discuss at another time. Right. What do we do when Panda is back and healthy?
Right.
You know, so they have to move a goaltender. So the goaltender is going to be moved.
That's your bet? Goaltender is going to be moved?
Goaltender is going to move for draft pick. I don't think they can afford to try to sneak Lecision and Cotter through on the waiver wire. 2 viable, I wouldn't call them solid guys, but they're bottom 6 forwards, and Cotter's obviously shown that he 3 goals in 9 games, a game winner, and he's hard on the puck. If we had to lose anybody, I'd rather lose Lecision and Cotter, but I'd rather not lose either one of them. I think we don't need 3 goaltenders. So we move a goaltender, and I think it's going to be LB.
I think that I'm going to go off the board and say that something else is going to the resolution is going to be E, to be determined. They have something up their sleeve. I just feel like I would hate for them to lose Cotter, and I think that I think it's automatic that he would get claimed. I think Lecision is the one who might sneak through waivers and make it back to Henderson, but he played 40 games last year with that MASH unit of a team, and he's learned a new system, and he's adapted well, and he's a good team guy, and he's a young kid. I think that, I don't know, I just feel like something very Golden Knights-ish could possibly happen.
So am I hearing you correctly? If we have to lose one player and not trade, you rather lose Lecision as a player you'd rather lose?
For now.
For now.
I think that.
But do you think McPhee and McCrimmon are making moves for now? Don't you think they're making moves with the future in mind?
I think they have no choice but to make a move for now with regards to this situation, because Adin Hill, because Laurent Brossoit is going to be NHL eligible, and they can't afford him right now.
Right. The only reason they can send him down is because he's coming off LTIR, and they're allowed a certain amount of games or days.
It's over. It's over today. He's been there for 3. He's been there for 3 games.
Is it three games or 6 days or something like that? Yeah.
Something like that. So let me ask you this question: if Adin Hill gets put on waivers, does he get picked up? or does he slide through?
That's a good question. I think he might slide through. I think any of the scouts or GMs in this league realize that they can look at Aiden Hill's past when he's playing in front of a mediocre, or behind, I should say, a mediocre team. So if you have goaltending or your team is in trouble and you're not having the proper forwards in front and defensemen in front of the goaltender, well, this is going to affect Aiden Hill's performance wise. They've seen his performance wise when he plays with so-called mediocre teams in front of him. So
Sure.
Aiden Hill is not going to be the the coming of Jesus for anybody. So he may actually be able to clear waivers because he's only playing well. I shouldn't say he's only playing well. I'm being unfair right now. He's playing well because of the system he's playing in and the players that are playing in front of them. If you bring them to another team and they don't have, as the coach in Ottawa said, the fifth and sixth defensemen are probably the best fifth and sixth in the whole entire league. Well, you're not really solving your problem by bringing him in unless you're desperate for goaltending. So he may be the guy who they can put on waivers and who probably would make it to Henderson.
Well, the thing is that there's a couple of teams already in desperate goaltending waters. The Pittsburgh Penguins come to mind, and the Toronto Maple Leafs come to mind. They just signed their AHL goalie. It's like an entry-level deal. Samsonov is hurt. They in that market, the water's getting awfully hot, awfully fast, and maybe there's a trade brewing where they get a fourth or a third or whatever. But do you really want to put your backup goalie eggs in the Laurent Brossoit basket coming off of hip surgery as a complete unknown?
No, and that's why I think that he's going to get traded. He's going to get traded, or he's going to be put on waivers. And I don't think they want to lose him for nothing. And if they put him on waivers, they're going to lose him for nothing. So I think they'll try to. I think that what their options are going to be is they're going to try to move him trade wise to get a draft pick. And then if they can't get anything worked out, and it's got to be this week, right?
It's going to be in the next couple of days, I would suppose.
It might be for when's the next game is Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be done before Tuesday. So it's either going to be done. We didn't hear anything tonight, and we're taping this on Sunday night. So it's either going to be done tomorrow or Tuesday before the game, because if he comes back on the team, that pushes them over the salary cap. They will not be able to go back to the same situation. They won't be able to put on the ice a full team.
Ice a full team.
Yeah.
Right. That whole thing.
We don't want to do that anymore. It cost us the President's Cup last year.
Yes, it certainly did. Joe, it's time that we talk about fat.
But who?
Not fat.
Oh, you're going to talk about yourself again now?
Not exactly in the context of fat, though. I am doing spectacularly well on the new medication from Ageless Forever and Dr. John Pierce. But they got this thing at Ageless Forever. So say you got a little fat somewhere, okay? And you lose weight and you diet and you exercise, right? And this fat, it could be in your neck, your leg, or whatever. It won't go away. You can go see my friend Dr. Pierce at Ageless Forever. And they have this thing called Cool Sculpting. Now, I'm not a scientist, Joe. You're not a scientist. But let me just tell you that they got this thing and they strap it on you and it freezes the fat off of you.
Really?
Yeah. It gives, if you're a woman, it gives you some curve. Or if you're a guy and you have a big fat lump on your neck, you can look less like, Marty Feldman from Young Frankenstein. It's this incredible thing. I've watched some videos on it. It's painless. They do it in the office. They strap you in, they strap this thing on you, and it literally freezes the fat off your body.
And it stays away?
And it stays away because once you've killed it, it doesn't come back. It's gone.
That's interesting.
Right? It works for men. It works for women. Well, they don't really recommend it for young people, but for old fucks, It works on them too. It's this incredible thing where you literally just sit there and you wear this device, and it probably takes a couple or 3 treatments. I don't really know. I haven't had it yet. I might have it. If I do, I'll film it for just a little snippet of the podcast because it will be funny. But if you go to www.agelessforever.net, you look up Dr. J.J. Pierce, my very good friend, and you fill out the form that you want a consultation, and you tell them that you're a friend of the guys from Hockey Nights in Vegas, you get a free consultation. And you can talk to them about just about anything, that troublesome lump of fat on your neck or wherever it happens to be. Take care of yourself, folks. Dr. Pierce's entire practice is all about getting the best you out of you. You do have to diet. You do have to exercise. But he can work the chemistry of your body as you get older that's going to make you the ideal version of you. And if you can get a little strap on there thing and some of the fat can get frozen off. Now, I would like to know where the fat goes when it gets frozen. I probably would ask a question like that when I talk to him. But this cool sculpting is offered at Ageless Forever with Dr. Pierce. If you're into wanting to look extra perfect for the holidays, you can go there and maybe lose a couple of inches somewhere, get a little more curve, anything you want. The point of this little ditty is that it's about you, men, women. It's about you taking care of you and having Dr. Pierce at Ageless Forever take care of you and make you the best you can be as you get older in the age, like Joe and I. Joe, I'm hungry. Where are we going to go for dinner? This is a completely shameless testimonial for our friends at Roma Restaurant and Deli on West Spring Mountain Road, 5755 West Spring Mountain Road, near Jones. Let me tell you something. None of you have heard of this place, and I'm sorry for that. But all of you are missing out, because if it can feed Joe and I continuously, and I mean continuously over the years, and we eat different things, and we have a this or a that, or if you want something special, chef will make it for you.
Absolutely.
This is, in my humble opinion, the best little Italian deli and restaurant in the city. It has been that way for a number of years. So this is the disclaimer. This is not a super fancy, flossy, flex and show your date Italian restaurant. Okay. This is a down home family Italian restaurant with spectacular food that you can take anybody. You can take a date there if they're a foodie. If you need a business meeting and you need a little bit of privacy and you want to have a bite to eat, you can go there for lunch or dinner. It's a fantastic Italian restaurant and deli. Coming up for the Golden Knights, they are 3 for 3 on their road trip, reminiscent of the road trip you went on with them. I think it was last year,
New York,
through the New York things.
yeah.
They are catching up to a Toronto team on Tuesday night that has won 5 home games in a row, but still seems to be leaking a little oil, especially at net. And then the Buffalo Sabres with Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs and the
Cody Eakin, right?
I'm not sure if Cody Eakin is still there. It's hard to
I
keep
know.
up with all the
I
old
know.
misfits. But
We try, though.
last year there was a lot of drama
Oh, with
behind
Eichel's
that Buffalo game, because it was Eichel's return, and he may have said something that was a little bit snippy afterward that he probably regrets, but still true. But this game, I feel like, could be really, really entertaining, because I don't know Jack Eichel. That's my disclaimer, but we've talked to him in the dressing room, and I think he would like nothing more to shove it up their ass Thursday night in Buffalo, like 2-1 with a game-winning goal. I think this is the game where Jack Eichel shows the world. And I guess yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of the trade, but this is the game in the city that he feels disrespected by, against the team that wouldn't let him get the surgery that he wanted to have, that the Golden Knights took the risk, made the deal, and I just feel like there's going to be some really big fireworks come Thursday night, and I think they're all going to, not all, I think a good bunch of them are going to come off the stick of Jack Eichel.
Okay, we got a chance to see him play. When he played for Buffalo, we didn't really get to see him. At least I didn't get to see a lot of them. The move that he made to score that overtime winning goal with the clock winding down, I mean, it was just.
And then setting up Theo the next game.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are the slightest bit of a hockey fan, you have to understand how difficult that is. And anyway, we're not going to slurp on Jack Eichel. We're tracking the fastest episode in Hockey Nights in Vegas history, so we're going to exit out of here. 2 games on the road.
Before we leave, though, Eddie, when they ventured on this 5-game road trip, how many points would you say they needed to get for it to be successful?
7.
That's exactly what I said.
7.
And they got 6.
3 wins and an OT.
Yeah, and they got 6 already with 2 games to go. So
they're going to get more than 1 in the next 2 games.
I think they get 8.
Who's going to beat them?
They may lose in Toronto.
Okay.
They might lose in Toronto.
Will you take an 8 out of 10 road trip? All day and twice on Sunday.
I said 7 out of 10 would be a great road trip.
Yeah, 7 was the number against this grouping for sure.
If they get 8, it's going to be great. And if they could get 10. If they get 10, it's lights out. Katie bought a door. This team's for real.
Well, I don't have any doubt that the team's for real. There's been no back padding this episode in a rare moment of no braggadocio.
Can you imagine that?
We've gone through it and we haven't bragged yet. But how about this little tidbit? The hottest 3 teams in hockey. The Las Vegas Golden Knights, who were coached by the guy who got thrown out of Boston. The Boston Bruins, who replaced their coach with a guy who has had a little bit of issue in Dallas. And Dallas, who has the head coach that got shown the door by the Vegas Golden Knights. If you don't like the soap opera version of my 3 coaches.
And don't forget that the coach that they sent out the door went all the way to the conference finals last season against the Tampa Bay.
I think it makes for a lot of content for us to talk about. If these 3 teams stay hot, could you imagine if the 3 of them are the finalists for the Jack Adams?
Or how about Dallas and Vegas playing in the Western Conference Finals?
The story.
And then on top of that, how about Vegas beats Dallas in the Western Conference Finals and plays the Bruins in the finals? What a storyline that will be?
How about Vegas scores 8 power play goals against Dallas and Dallas scores none? Okay, anyway, no more picking on Steve's spot. Anyway, that's going to wrap up episode 42. We'll be back in another week or so. We're going to let the Golden Knights get 3 or 4 games under their belt. Don't forget to visit the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. If it's happening in Vegas, it happens at Anthony Curtis's Las Vegas Advisor. The best deals in town, all the information you need, where to go, what to do, who to see. He doesn't really tell you who to talk to. You got to find your own connections. But everything Vegas for decades can be found at the LasVegasAdvisor.com.
And whether you're a local or a visitor, Las Vegas Advisor is a great website for information about where to go in Vegas, where the best deals are, where the best playing slot machines are, where the best table games are. It's the premium Las Vegas website.
All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure you like and comment and share. Tell us what you like. Tell us if you think we're out of our mind. Feel free to tell me I'm completely full of shit by saying that this is the best Golden Knights roster we've had in 6 years. But prepare for blowback if you want to pick that fight. I'm warning you right now, it's coming back hot if you disagree with me.
Just one thing before we leave. Are you the fact that you have removed Are you gonna send it over to In-N-Out Burger to put into their deep fryer for fries?
I haven't had it removed yet, Joe.
Well, when you do,
I don't know, but I have a special.
yeah, you have a special, okay.
I have a special advertisement for Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever for next episode, which will involve the greatest dare bet wager in the history of gambling on you, the
On me?
audience. No, you,
Oh,
the
okay,
audience.
okay.
You, the
Okay.
I don't want to spill it because I just came up with it, but it's an absolutely frightening opportunity to have you watch me get tortured. And
Oh,
that's all I'm going to say. So that's it. That's the end of episode 42, folks. Thank you, as always, for watching, and we'll see you again next week.